This is the Vegas Huddle with Mike Davis.
Welcome to the Vegas Huddle. I'm your host, Mike Davis. It's my pleasure to introduce you to another great, athletic, local guy who is a former NFL player doing so much great in the community. It's the great Morlon Greenwood. Marlin, it's great to have you here inside the Vegas Huddle. The funny thing is, there's so much to talk about with you, but for a long time I was calling you Morlin. But your name is Marlin. You spell it M-O-R-L-O-N.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to refer to you? Is it Marlin or is it Morlin?
So it's pronounced Marlin, like you spell M-A-R-L-O-N, but
Yeah.
actually spelled M-O-R-L-O-N. And the way that started, it's funny. In 2013, I had to when I started doing acting, everyone was asking me that question, and I had to find out. And I said, you know what? Let me go ask my mom because she should know, right? Is my name Morlin or Marlin? And because growing up, my parents called me Marlon, but it's like I'm from Jamaica, so right. You think with the accent sometimes maybe that's why. And when I came to America, everybody be like, is it Marlin or Morlin? But I've never really kind of identified the reason why, how you're supposed to call me, because it didn't really matter. But as I asked more and more, I would find out. My mom said when I was born, she wanted me to be named after Marlon Brando. Right, and his name is spelled M-A-R-L-O-N, but the doctor wrote M-O-R-L-O-N, like he spelled my name M-O-R.
So the doctor spelled your name wrong.
He spelled it, but you know what? It's good that he did that because I was able to get my name trademarked because it's right. The only Morlon Greenwood in the world.
There's so much to talk about, and it's full circle with the Marlon Brando. But let's start at the beginning with you, and that's what I love doing here in the Vegas Huddle. We get to learn about so many high-quality, big-time athletic performers, but people who are also doing great things in our community. I first became acquainted with you with everything you're doing with the MG52 Foundation, and we're going to get into that. But let's start in Kingston, Jamaica. I mean, that's where you're born. Yeah. You moved to New York when you're how old?
I was 11 years old when I came to the States.
And it must have been pretty much a big culture shock for you, right? Was it difficult moving here at 11?
Actually, we were very excited. In Jamaica, we used to walk barefoot on the ground, and anyone that grows up in the Caribbean or grew up anywhere that is considered third world country where they don't have access to some of the things that we do over here, we look at it like, wow, we can't wait to get to America, And our father, Owen Greenwood, he moved over here for a better way of life for us because I have 7 brothers and 4 sisters. Wow. I have a big family. So it was a very important deal for us to come over here. And once we came, we were so excited to see snow. I remember the first time, like in September up in New York when the snow started coming down, and we went out there and we looked up in the sky at the snow coming down, and that only lasted for like 2 years.
Right.
Because
you're like, damn,
after that we were tired of the snow. I mean, I was.
Right.
But it was really fun to see that because you only used to see that on TV, and it was a great experience.
And you're going to Freeport High School, and we're going to talk about a lot of what you did from a wrestling and a football standpoint. But your family coming here as a unit, having all those brothers and sisters, your father Owen, he's making this life for you and your family. When you're growing up, are you recognizing that athletically I'm going to be able to make a big impact on my family and taking care of people because of how gifted I am athletically? I know back in Jamaica, soccer was really your first love, but when you come to the States, are you keeping with the soccer, or pretty quickly it becomes evident that wrestling is your thing?
Well, when I came, I was in the 6th grade, and come from Jamaica, I've been playing soccer since I was 5 years old. So I immediately went into that sport. I was MVP the first year. I remember my cousin even talked up to this day, and I didn't even know that. My cousin who produces all my songs for the music, he said, you're the reason that I quit soccer, because I was like, what? And he said that before I came on the team, he was the guy that was getting the MVP. Now I came on the team on my first year.
Wow.
but I didn't know it. But he shared that with me. And he mentioned that's to show how impactful you are when you come onto the scene. And he used to always tell me that. He used to always tell me that in the music. He said, "I don't want you to be one of the best. I want you to be the best." He used to always push that because he knows that I have it in me. But started playing soccer coming up. Didn't really have any interest in playing any American sport. Didn't even like watching football. Didn't know anything about wrestling. Only thing I knew about wrestling was WWF. I used to watch
right.
Hulk Hogan and and Ultimate Warrior and all of that. But I was fortunate to have a gym teacher by the name of Russ Selling that got me into wrestling my sophomore year, and he was the assistant wrestling coach but the head football coach, and that's how I was able to get involved in those sports.
And you took to, I mean, listen, you're by the time you're doing, taking to football, you're a junior, and then very quickly, I mean, you're really doing a lot of things pretty impressively at the senior level. I mean, by the time you're a senior in football, you're all county, you're all state, and this is all coming from a gym, a guy who's your wrestling coach, who's really pushing you to try out new sports. So by the time you get into the football field, you're transitioning from wrestling, which, you're taking down a lot of guys on the mat. You won a state wrestling title. So when you're going onto the football field, are you immediately put in that linebacker spot where you're taking guys down, just now it's tackling, or how did that start?
Well, initially it was very difficult for me to make the decision because football and soccer was in the same season.
Oh.
Took my coach, who's my coach now, but my gym teacher, 1 month to convince me to play football.
Yeah.
Because he came out with every trick in the book. He said, you could be our kicker, and still play soccer. You could, and then one time be like, you know what, you would make a really good defensive end for us. He said, we're not going to have you start playing linebacker because you have to worry about covering the flats.
Right.
I was like, what do you mean cover the flats? It's like, don't worry about it. Because I was new to everything. I didn't even watch a game. I didn't even know what a first down was. I even played in 4 games, and I didn't even know what a first down was.
Wow.
All I did was what he told me. He said, line up here, don't be offsides, and where we see the football, just go get it. And that's basically all I did. And I remember the first game I watched was when I had to figure out what a first down was. Because one day in practice, he asked me, on first down, what do you think they're going to do? And I'm looking at him like, and he asked me like 3 times. And then he finally said, oh, you don't even know what a first down is, do you? And then he said, I'm not going to tell you. Go home and watch Monday Night Football and figure it out. And that's when I watched. And it was Dallas Cowboys playing against the Arizona Cardinals.
Wow.
And I was, I look back on that story. And I think about as a youth or where I was at that point, not knowing that I was going to be all county, get a full scholarship at the end of the year, that I was going to go up to Syracuse, that I was going to get drafted,
right.
All these things. At that point, I was just watching this game to try and figure out what a first down was to go back and tell Coach Selling. And then later on in life, I was actually playing in Dallas, in Dallas
right.
against the Cowboys. I played in Arizona against the Cardinals. Those 2 teams that I was watching, it lets you know you never know what your future holds. You just have to work hard and just continue to put your best foot forward.
It's such an inspiring story. And, let's just move forward. I mean, you go to full, Syracuse, full ride. And, I mean, you started 48 consecutive games at linebacker. Yes. And, I mean, each year, redshirt freshman, 64 tackles, 2 sacks. 55 tackles, 3 sacks sophomore year. Junior, senior year, you really, took it to a whole nother level. 91 tackles, 1 sack. That year, that's the year you sacked Tom Brady when he was playing at Michigan.
And you're still playing.
Which we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes. And senior year, 98 tackles. You were all Big East first team along with your teammate Dwight Freeney. So let's talk about this. First of all, you get to Syracuse. The moment you're there. It's not, Freeport High School anymore.
Yeah.
Now you're at Syracuse. You're playing in the Big East. Was it challenging? The level of competition, how did it translate from high school to college? How quickly were you able to adjust?
So, before I even get to that, I want to mention a key point.
Yeah.
When I first came from Jamaica, when I talked to my father about being successful, because one of the things that started this journey was helping my family. Since I was 5 years old in Jamaica, I was always thinking about that. And when I came to the States, I asked my father, how do I become successful? And he mentioned that become a doctor or a lawyer. Well, I focus on becoming a doctor because I want to help people. But because of that journey, I made sure that I was in an honor roll, a high honor roll each marking period. So when after my first year playing football and I did so well and was made all county, and Syracuse saw that, they wanted to give me a scholarship, but they said, how's his grades? And my coach said, he's on the honor roll, a high honor roll each marking period. So that's how it happened.
Wow.
And one of the things my father used to always tell me, he said, Marlon, just do your best at any contest, and God would do the rest. You know, he used to always make things rhyme. He passed away now. That's why I said he used to. And that stuck with me. Do your best at any contest, and God will do the rest.
Contest.
The contest is whatever you're doing. Like, this is a contest now. You're having an interview. Do the very best you can. Be alert. Make sure that you're answering the question the best to your ability. You know, because they got to be there anyway. So that's the approach I took. And I remember when I went up to Syracuse, my thought process was doing my best at any contest, and God would do the rest. But I also knew that this is a whole nother level than high school. It's not line up here, be outside, and go get the football.
Right.
It's now you have to play cover 4. You have to be 4 yards off the line when the receiver is flexed out. You have B gap responsibility on run. Then you have the hinge technique. Hinge technique,
a lot more than just first down.
And this is like one coverage and one formation.
Right.
Well, what I do in another formation? What do I do if they come out in an empty set? All these different things. What are the checks are going to be? So it was very important for me to take in that information and just learn, and just learn. And I was one of the players where Coach Paul Pasqualoni called developmental, right? That means it was because I never played football before, and he understood that. So he wanted me to just learn and just watch a game and watch the guys in front of me and make sure that I was paying attention. Now, he was taking a chance because a lot of guys, when they're getting so much leeway, guess what they do? They jerk around. They don't pay attention. They don't listen.
Right.
But I was listening, and I was paying attention to the guy and knowing when they were doing something wrong, when they made when they made a mistake, what they were supposed to do. And Coach P used to check up on me. He was like, Marlon, what they were supposed to do on that? You know, and I was like,
wow.
He was supposed to be in the flat. He was like, that's correct. That's correct. You know, that's how it
correct.
You know.
See, that's a beautiful thing. And to me, I think it's super important because this is the kind of stuff that informs you to have such a successful NFL career where you're learning, you know, it's almost like, you know, you're a musician as well. Like it's about, you were learning music theory, you were learning football theory, you were learning how to actually play the game and approach the game, and you understood what you were doing and why you're doing it, and that probably informed you a lot. So when you're playing at Syracuse, you're there with Dwight Freeney,
Keith Bullock.
You're there with McNabb,
Donovan McNabb,
my guy who I grew up watching.
Bucky Jones, Donovan Darius.
A great team.
Yeah,
so
great team.
What being around those guys, tell me what you learned most from, you know, I mean, McNabb, Freeney's going to be a Hall of Famer, I would assume. McNabb, maybe. Donovan Darius had a great career. Bullock had a great career with the Titans. So tell us, I mean, being around guys of that stature, what did you learn most from them that helped get you to the next level at the NFL?
You know, you learn about different things from each player. Keith, he played linebacker, so me and him spent a lot of time together. I know that Keith wasn't all about technique sound, make sure you step with his right foot. He was just, did you make the play or you didn't make the play, right? And he had the size and everything, and it was just all about that. So that's his mentality. And remember, it was new to football to me. Football was new to me, so I was learning everything the coaches were saying about make sure you're in your gap, you know, make sure you're being coached, make sure But in football, what I learned over the years, it's not about sometimes as long as you made the play, as long as the guy didn't run in your gap and you made the play, you're the hero, right? But you have to be able to learn how to adjust to that, and that didn't really transition to me until I went to the NFL. From Dwight Freeney now, I realized what a person that's extremely talented and extremely quick and just have a motor can be very disruptive in the game. and it's always taught me about the physicality and the speed of the game. That one of the terms I think Florida State used to always say that speed kills.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you have that type of speed, and in college, he was blowing past guys. I remember we played against Virginia Tech, and he had 4.5 sacks against Michael Vick.
Oh my God.
He was leading the nation. That was the year he had gotten hurt, and so
and to do that against Vic, at Virginia Tech, he was the fastest there ever was.
So he showed the speed and
athleticism. Did he have that move, that tornado? What did he
always
call it?
Had
the earthquake or tornado?
I don't remember what he called it, but it was a
like
spin
the
move.
whirling dervish or something.
It was a spin move he used to do, and he used to drive Coach B nuts. He used to be like, because they were all about coaching and make sure that the quarterback don't break contain.
Right.
And get out of the pocket.
Right.
Sometimes when you spin inside, quarterback sees that and break contain, and that would be the toughest thing on the defense because now they have free reign.
I gotta look that up. It's called like the torpedo.
The torpedo.
It was like, but I remember watching him on the Colts with Peyton, and I think on the other, Manning was quarterback, and they had all those great guys, Marvin Harrison. But defensively, it was like him on one end and like Mathis or.
Mathis, number 98, I believe.
The both of them, going together, it was just...
No, it was good. Both of those guys work extremely well together, and I know that it made the offense have to game plan for them even that much harder. But
and what about McNabb?
McNabb, leader. I saw what it was like to be a leader. I remember one year we were 0-3.
Yeah.
And he gave us a speech about committing to the team and not giving up, and we won 8 straight games, and we won the Big East championship.
Wow.
We went to the Orange Bowl. So it shows in the face of adversity to be able to go up there and stand and say what you're going to do and to follow through on it. Show me that.
It's a beautiful thing because, I had the pleasure of, hosting an event with you with the MG52 Foundation, which we'll get into. But I think it also speaks to your character, how beloved you are by your teammates. Because I remember being at that event, and we did a lot of silly things that we sang Bob Marley on stage together, which we'll talk about. But you had, multiple tables there of guys just from Syracuse who were there to support you, who have, all gone and done different great things in life, but, they were there to support you as a teammate. So, you must have been such a great teammate, to all these guys.
I always try to treat people the way I want to be treated, and not because someone is a certain way, it doesn't mean that you're always trying to pick someone up.
Right.
And that's what I learned from my father. That's what I learned from my family, and that's how we've always been. And when things like that don't go, people notice it.
Yeah,
people notice it. No matter how much people might try to hide it, but people that are around you and see how people talk about you, they really notice it. And it's just about just doing my duty here. It's just trying to help people, trying to help the kids like what we're doing in the foundation. But it's also make you think about sometimes that some of these guys that you spend time with in college that you would like to, connect with them more. But it's difficult because once guys leave, they disperse all over the nation. They have their own responsibilities, they have their own families, and but it's kind of like when you meet up again, it's like you never miss a beat. It's like when you haven't seen a family member in a while,
It's a beautiful
thing. And you go to it's a great thing.
I'll never forget that that night. But, let's talk about this. We got to talk a few big moments, I think, in your life. Of course, at Syracuse, junior year, you sack the GOAT. You sack Tom Brady. Do you remember that actual, like if I'm asking you right now, Marlon, you sacked Tom Brady, you were a junior in college at Syracuse. Do you remember everything about the moment? Do you remember what his jersey felt like? Do you remember what the grass felt like when you took him down? Take me to that moment.
Do you want to be honest? I don't remember anything about it. because
he wasn't Tom Brady yet.
I know with a big game because we were playing Michigan. I can tell you what happened previously. We lost to Tennessee 31-34, I believe, or 32 was it? 31-32. They kicked the last-minute field goal. And after that, there was like a tornado or some small hurricane that ran through the college, and we lost power. And then we were going to play Michigan at Michigan in the big house. I remember Coach B talking about, no matter what happened, losing, to I think it was the year when T. Martin was the quarterback.
Oh.
I think that's the year they won the national title
Oh, okay.
too. But that was the same year we also won the Big East championship, went to the Orange Bowl. But we were just focused on making sure that we went over to Michigan with all the distractions, with losing that big game to Tennessee. Because the way we lost was like on a fourth down. Will Allen was covering the wide receiver, and they called pass interference, which put them in field goal range.
Oh.
And they kicked the field goal, and then when they won the game. And that was a very controversial call, but by the way, so it was like, come on,
right? But
I remember that, right? I remember that, and then when I remember preparing for the Michigan Wolverines, as far as them having the double tight end, the double crossing route that the coaches mentioned, that you got to make sure all the schemes and everything like that, and actually going in there, and actually we playing very well. McNabb went out there and played an excellent game, and I think that stadium, you're probably still doing. I haven't really paid too much attention, but I think at the time was 110,000 fans, and it was packed, and you could hear a pin drop in the stadium because we were dominating from the beginning all the way to the end. So I remember that, but again, I don't remember too much about. Yeah.
It's interesting though, because when he was playing, he was a 6th-round pick. I mean, he was like one of the last picks of the 6th round. So did you see anything remarkable about him when you played? Did you have any inclination? Maybe other people weren't picking up on it, but I could see this guy becoming a great quarterback in the NFL.
I thought when he went out there, he was consistent, and I thought that he had a drive, but it was him and Drew Henson was sharing time at the moment, so we had to prepare for both quarterbacks. So we had to know that when a certain quarterback is out there, I think Henson was a little bit more mobile.
Right.
And he played baseball. And
right. He was a multi-sport. He played for the Cowboys. Yeah, but so it's such an interesting thing when you reflect back on stuff. But let's keep going in your career. I mean, you end up becoming a 3rd-round draft pick. You're the 88th pick in the 2001 draft.
Yes.
The Dolphins pick you up. And listen, to be a 3rd-round pick, I mean, that's somebody who's coming in and going to be an impact player. This is not just like a 6th-round pick, you're taking a flyer. I mean, 3rd-round pick, you're a good player and you're going to play, you know? So you go to the Dolphins and, let's talk about this. 4 years there. You had so many great seasons with combined tackles over 100, which is a remarkable thing. But when you're with the Dolphins, let's talk about your time there. You're now in the NFL. When your dad, take us to the moment you're drafted from Syracuse. You're drafted. What does your family say? What does Owen Greenwood think? After moving his whole family from Jamaica to, you've made it now. What was it like for you and your family, that moment?
That moment was, for me, it was relieving because at that time, the draft was from round 1 to round 3 on the first day, and the second day was like round 4 to round 7. Right. And we decided to do it at my coach's house because he was the one that got me into football.
Oh.
So I wanted to go.
The one from back home?
Yeah, one from back home.
Oh,
Coach
my
Rossellan.
God.
Yeah.
What a sweet thing.
So we did it there, and I was just happy to get, because everyone was there to watch me get drafted. And if I didn't get drafted that night, everybody got to come back to the party the next day. So imagine how nerve-wracking it was. And then the Dolphins said that they were going to draft me. Every time my agent was like, they're going to draft you now. They're going to draft you now. And so 1st round came, didn't get drafted. 2nd round came, didn't get drafted. Then 3rd round came, didn't get drafted. I was like, when the Dolphins are going to draft me? So what they did was they traded their 2nd round pick from the following year to take me in there with the 80th pick overall, because in the 3rd round they drafted Travis Minor from Florida State, the running back. But when that happened, my father was very proud. My mother, Janet Walker, she was very proud as well, and also my stepmom, Rosemary. Everyone was happy. My coaches was happy, my family. But in my mind, all I was thinking about is, okay, now I'm drafted. Now it's time to get to work.
And how did you, that's a very rare thing. A lot of people would be like, let's go out clubbing. Let's go party. This is, I made it. What is it about you that was like, no, we haven't made it yet. I still have work to do?
First of all, I didn't start drinking until I was 25 years old. So clubbing was not on my mind
Okay, good.
at all. I didn't know about any of that until later. But I was just focused about it because I was so determined to help my family. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And even though it's happening in football, my original goal was to become a doctor.
Yeah,
and I
you
did get my
studied
degree.
biology, right?
Yeah,
At Syracuse and
at that-
everything.
and ended up being health and exercise science,
Yeah.
which is were pre-physical therapy classes, because I had to switch from that because pre-med classes, some of the classes conflicted with practice. There was only one of them, organic chemistry.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's the tough one.
But it was during practice time, so it was either would be like, it conflicts with practice. I'm just gonna go,
Right.
But it was important for me to stay on track and honor the scholarship, because if it wasn't for the scholarship, I wouldn't have been here. I don't want to go up there and be like,
No, it's a nice thing.
I'm good. Yeah, so
4 years, you really did. And I mean, let's talk about this pro day. I mean, 4.47 you ran for the 40-yard dash for a linebacker. That's amazing. A 415-pound bench press and a 685-pound squat. I mean, whoa, this is a dangerous individual we got here with us. It's really a remarkable thing. And then you go to the Dolphins, and let's talk about the types of players that are on this team. I mean, I remember I'm growing up, I'm born in 92, so these were the teams that I remember watching for the Dolphins. Jason Taylor.
Yes.
Zach Thomas.
Yes.
Sam Madison. Patrick Surtain. Junior Seau was even there at some point.
Yeah, Junior
and this
Seau
is
was
just
there.
all defense. I mean, we can talk Ricky Williams and Chris Chambers. But let's focus
Rob
on
Conrad, too, from Syracuse, got a big up.
Oh, see, there you go. But let's talk about these guys on the team. You get there, you have the mentality, I want to get to work, I want to make an impact on this level. You're surrounded now by real guys who've been doing this a long time. Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, these guys are not joking around.
Yes.
Everybody is elite once you get to this level. What are you thinking in your first mini camp, in your first practice? When did you really gauge, by looking at the spectrum and seeing all these guys on the field and the landscape, when did you first evaluate that I deserve to be here and I can really make something happen? When did you feel that shift in you?
That happened. Jim Bates, I remember after one of the minicamp practices, he pulled me aside and he said to me, Marlon, we have never had a player come in and pick up the defense as fast as you picked up the defense.
And you give a lot of this credit to your coach from Syracuse, who really took the time to instill in you what football theory was?
Yeah, it's that, but I think it's from just me, listening to what my father always tell me about doing your best at any contest, and God will do the rest. Like even that, if you use that philosophy in everything you do, you will see that it will just help you to do better.
But how do we do that? I mean,
how
do we have that supreme focus? I'm trying my best right now, but to be fully engaged and to be that present where you're trying your best all the time. It's not that it's just exhausting, but it's not easy to achieve. How do we do it? How, if anybody's listening or watching this right now, how would they be able to be the best at any contest, and then God can do the rest?
So first of all, it's you have to have a goal in mind. You have to have a goal in mind, and you also have to know that it's not where you start, it's where you finish. Because a lot of people get discouraged when they start something and they'll be like, I'm no good at this. But if you stick with it, you see over time, I'm actually getting better at this. And then you keep on. It may take you a little bit longer, but eventually you're going to start becoming good. And once you get to the point where you becoming really good, some guys learn really fast, or girls learn really fast, and some takes a little bit longer because of somewhere along the line they have to. But once you get it, you're going to get it. And once you get it, it's going to seem like it's happened overnight, but it actually took however long time it took you to get there. And me, one of the reasons why that was easy for me to follow, because my goal was to help my family. That's been all my driving force. I have to make it because I have to help my family. My mother used to pull me aside in the off season in Miami and was like, Marlon, I don't think you like football as much as you like music. Because she used to see like a shift in me when I do it with the music. Even though I did like football, but it was just something that
different.
Came along the way that I tried, that I liked, that I was good at, but it wasn't like my entire life would be like, I'm going to be the greatest, football player. I was out there doing the best that I could do at it. And I think that's one of the reasons why, even in my mind, I didn't open up where, you know what, one day I could be a Hall of Famer. Like I wasn't having those thoughts. My thoughts were, I'm going to be the best out here. No one's going to beat me, and I'm going to be the number one. And I started 8 years in the NFL. And I analyze your own self too. The mind will sometime allow certain things to happen.
So it wasn't like you're out there. It's not like you're constantly thinking this is my passion. This was more like this is a job, and I'm going to do the best job I can do. And that was the mentality.
Yeah, that was my mentality, because everything was like the next obstacle for me. This was the next thing that I had to do, and I think it wasn't until Junior Seau came down there until I started having fun with the game. Why
did he make it fun?
Because, at the time I could actually let go, because he kind of gave me that option.
How? I mean,
he just be like, he said, Marlon, if you think it's run, go for it. And if it's not run, if you're in the backfield, go sack the quarterback. If you're not that far, just go drop it to pass. Don't even worry about it, right? When the whole time, because I started football so late and everything, I was always so intellectual about doing everything right and perfect, just like the coach said, I'm gonna do it. And Junior was like, no, just go. And I used to watch him on tape, and sometimes he would make a big play, and sometimes he wouldn't. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna utilize what I learned now, and I'm gonna implement what he told me.
It's nice, and you got to realize he was already a future probably Hall of Famer at that point. He was in the twilight of his career.
13 Pro Bowls at that time when he came to Miami.
Because his whole thing was Chargers, and then he comes to the Dolphins, and it was old. He was an older guy.
Yeah.
So it was nice of him to be so gracious. And
no, that was great. That was great advice, and what I thought I did to my game elevated it.
Really?
And then my fourth year there, that's when I was able to play more, because Zach Thomas got hurt and Junior Seau got hurt, so my playing time picked up. So I was on the field more. I was on the nickel package and the dime package, and that's the year I made 133 tackles.
And that was huge, because that helped you
Houston.
Got the big deal, the big contract from Houston, $22 million, $7 million signing bonus. Your rookie deal, what was your rookie deal like?
Rookie deal, I don't even remember. Oh, I can tell what signing bonus. Signing bonus was about $400,000 after tax. It was $275,000.
Wow.
And the only thing I could think about is was like, this is not going to be enough to help my family.
Well, what did you do with it? Did you buy your parents something?
No, I sent them some money. I wasn't in position to help, because I have 7 brothers and 4 sisters. It wasn't until I went to Houston when I was able to pay off the college tuition and whatever the taxes are. Home, bought a home for my mom in Jamaica, and off a home in Rosedale. Those type of things. But before, it was like, because they didn't want me to. I was just starting out, and they understand what that was as well. As a matter of fact, not only my parents, but also my coaches, my wrestling coach on my college school, my high school football coach.
You helped him out financially?
No, I'm gonna tell you how to show what type of guys they were, because I was in such great appreciation for what they did. I sent a check for $10,000 for my high school coach, and one for $10,000 for my wrestling coach. And that same night when they both received it, they called me and was like, "This is not why we did it." He said, we cannot accept this. And up to this day, I remember that meant a lot to me, because I really, really appreciate what they did. And this is what they said: just by you making it was enough reward for us. And I was fortunate to have some great coaches, Coach Sellen, Terry Hayes, who was my wrestling coach, Chris Edmonds, who used to come in there in wrestling practice and beat the crap out of me to make me better. Joe Chetty, who was the assistant wrestling coach and our assistant football coach as well. And I remember when I was going up one week when I was wrestling the number one guy, and you mentioned, at the time as a kid, you don't really understand how important this was. I remember one of the wrestling guys, Kingsley, was saying, "Hey, Coach Eddie, do you think Marlin's going to beat Chippos this week?" And I remember Coach said it was like, I bet my house on it. I didn't understand what betting a house mean. Now I know.
Now you know what that means.
Now I know what that means. He said, I bet my house on it. And I went out there and I won. But it's just that the confidence that the coaches had in us as our players and also as youth, just overall development. Just want to see you do your best.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And to me, to just even hear you, state all these names and recall them so effortlessly. I mean, it's true. You are such a beautiful, genuine guy when it comes to that impact that these people had on your life. And do you think they were that way with everybody, or do you think you were a special type of student, a special type of athlete who was able to receive that and they saw something special in you? Because I think a lot of times we all want mentors, right? I would love if, David Letterman would pull me aside and want to give me that confidence and be that type of person for me. But to be graced and blessed with such mentors in your life who give that to you, was it more about you or was it more about them?
I think there were real good people and real good coaches. And when you start to coach someone and you see that somebody really putting a genuine effort forward, you just want to help them more. Because those are the individuals that they are, and they see and they kind of might gravitate to you because they see that, all right, he's almost there. Let me just give him the tools that he needs, or her the tools that she needs to get to the next level.
Right.
And I feel like that's what it was. Like even not just only Chris Edmonds, but he had Eric Smith, who was a wrestler there. We used to go down there whenever they had time to volunteer and come down and wrestle, because they had regular jobs too, but they just came down there and just roll around with the kids just to make us better. And so I was I think those are people that you want to have around you, and when it comes to helping the youth, because their heart is in it, and that's one of the things that we look for when we do the foundation is people that would do this thing for free. Some people that will go out there and just help these kids because they want to see these kids do well. I know what that feels like because I had coaches like that.
See.
So imagine how much more they're going to even love it more once the foundation is thriving and you're able to pay different salaries and things like that. Then they're going to be like, I'm doing something that I would do for free anyway. So this is great.
So let's talk about the foundation, because we've done segments on TV about this. I went through a whole, linebacker progression with you when I used to have long hair. Remember we were doing, what were we screaming together? We were like, I was turning my head and doing all the movements as a linebacker.
Something about MG52, log on to MG52.
Yeah. So MG52, your foundation, it's a nonprofit. Caring for Kids is the big event that we both, co-hosted at Harley Davidson when we were doing that together. But tell us about the foundation, what, the meaning of the foundation, what you're really hoping to achieve. And it's really a nice full circle thing now to learn about it with the history and how many coaches impacted your life and how you're giving back. So share what it means to you and, how people can really learn more and get involved.
So doing the foundation, it was my way of giving back. I was that youth coming up looking for guidance and direction and a way out to help my family. So we're a leadership and mentorship program for socioeconomic disadvantaged youth and adolescents. And we want to be able to help those kids to reach their full potential. Our mission is to raise up youth to become successful, socially responsible citizens through mentorship imparted to encourage the realization of their full potential.
Wow.
While respecting diversity within the community.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a big mission statement.
And it's to fit everything in. And our motto is believe it and you will achieve it.
See, Owen Greenwood, he had a easy thing to remember. Do your best in any contest and God will do the rest.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what you just said. Say that one more time.
Raise up youth.
Yes.
To become successful, socially responsible citizens through mentorship imparted to encourage the realization of their full potential while respecting diversity within the community.
The while is good. If I like that.
Yeah, while respecting diversity. So throughout this entire time, while you're raising up youth and helping, you have to help everyone, right? We're not leaving anybody out, and we want everyone to reach their full potential. And you know what? If you believe it, you will achieve it. That's something that came from when I was a youth. I had to believe in the goal that I was going to be able to help my family. It took me 21 years to do that. That was when I was 5. I didn't tell anyone because
you knew that at 5.
I didn't know that I was going to do it. I knew I had to do it, but I didn't know how.
And why did you feel that at 5? Did your other brothers and sisters feel that, or at 5?
I'm going to tell you the story. I never I shared it with people now, but when I was 5, I was in Jamaica walking toward the water fountain, and I was going over there with a hazard primary, and I remember I was thinking about my grandmother, that she was old, and then I started thinking about my mom because I was with her at the time in Jamaica. My father was in the States, and then I thought about my father. I was like, who's going to take care of them when they get old? Because I know my grandmother was old. I know that eventually that's going to happen. And that's when I heard the voice, you're going to be the one to take care of your family. I was like, hold up. Who said that?
Are you kidding with me?
I'm not kidding with you. I was like, who said that? And then I looked around and there was no one there. No one was there, and I was like, all right, let me go drink this water. If like something happened, imagine that, right? So I went to go drink the water, and once I drank the water, I went back to the classroom, and I was in the classroom, and I was looking around. This is when I was 5, and I always think about it. And I looked around, and I saw like the little kids playing around in the room, and I was like, why are these kids playing around? They should be paying attention. Don't they know they have to take care of the family when they get older, right? So that's when I started. That's when that started generating.
Is that, let's be real. First of all, let me just make sure I'm understanding everything.
Yeah.
You're 5 years old. You're in Kingston, Jamaica. Mm-hmm. You're going to get water. From what? A water what?
The water fountain, but it wasn't like a water fountain like here where you press on it. It's kind of like a sink. The water came down.
So you go to get this water, and you're thinking about how your elderly grandmother's her needs are starting to change. Your parents have to take care of her. You're thinking, well, as a 5-year-old, what is that going to mean for my parents, right? And then a voice says to you.
Well, a voice said it after. I said, well, who's going to take care? Who's going to take care of them when they get old? And the voice was like, you're going to be the one to take care of your family.
This is, this happened.
This happened.
You heard a voice. And where do you think that voice came from?
Well,
is it God? Is it, what is it?
Is it God? Is it the Holy Spirit? Is it the inside you that's waking up and telling you what your destiny is? Who knows, right? Some people
Has the voice ever spoken to you again?
Never spoke to me again. Sometimes
never at Syracuse.
Never at Syracuse. Not even
Miami.
NFL. Sometimes not even during the toughest times in my life when you'd be like, just tell me something right now, right?
Never again.
Never
what
again.
What if after you leave this podcast room, God speaks to you again and says, "Wow, that podcaster was really good." Do you think that's going to happen?
Listen, it's. I think you only have to hear that one time.
See?
And once you hear it that one time, it stick with you. Now, here's the thing. Along the way and along my journey, I never told anyone, because next thing you have people saying this to you, because I didn't care. I knew I had to do it, right? So I didn't care what anyone says, whether, oh, you're doing great, or people say, oh, you're not going to be able to do it. It didn't matter. It was, once you change your mentality from something you want to do to something you have to do, something changes in your life, right? And it's no longer like you don't have that option B. It's the only way. That's why, it took me all that time. Even my rookie year when I sprained my midfoot severely, I missed the entire even when I got that great when my coach was talking great praise from my coach about how great I'm doing, right before I got moved up to the first team, guess what? I sprained my midfoot severely. I was on crutches for like 5 to 6 weeks, missed the entire preseason game. That year we played 5 preseason games. Even with the regular first game, I tried to come back for a little part, hurt my foot again.
Wow.
Then I went up to Syracuse. Then 9/11 happened, got stuck in Syracuse, had to drive all the way down to Florida. My brother came to get me. I had to drive out because we didn't know if we were going to play a game that week. Luckily, we didn't play a game that week, and it was good because it was a very tragic situation. But that gave me an extra week to recover, and then 2 more weeks. Then I started coming back, and then my foot started holding. Then I was able to play with the pain. Then you have the whole Toradol situation and Indocin and all those things that
Toradol and Indocin. Those are
so Toradol is like a super anti. So you have Indocin, which is a super anti-inflammatory, and you have
what does it do, and how do you take it?
So the Indocin is like a capsule, like that you would take it orally, and once you take that, it causes all inflammation in your body to decrease. So it decreases the pain. Because normally when you have
the inflammation that hurts.
Inflammation that hurts. So it helps you to deal with the pain more. And then when come the game day, you would take like a Toradol, which is a super anti-inflammatory, and it's also a pain inhibitor. So on game day,
you're not feeling anything.
You're not feeling it, but then when it wears off, you feel it though.
Right.
But yeah, having to deal with that, and then when I started doing better again and started being able to hold my own, the coach Jim Bates called me up to the office, and this is now
He was the
as a
defensive
rookie.
coordinator as
He was
the Dolphins.
He was the defensive coordinator, and I remember, at that time going through that, it took me, I felt really down. I felt really down because here I was, I'm supposed to do this for my family. I don't know what where my future holds. And then I get called up to the office. I don't know if I'm getting cut or what's happening. And I remember Jim Bates said to me, I was sitting down expecting the worst. And he said, Marlon, we're going to start it this week. And that's the last thing I'm expecting to hear, because I said, I missed the entire preseason game.
Right.
But he said, you were doing such an exceptional job.
Wow.
We would be remiss not to play you.
What a beautiful thing.
But then that was great news and everything. But then I went downstairs to get ready. I was like, oh, we're playing New England this week. When New England just won the Super Bowl last year.
Wow.
And it's Tom Brady, right? And so now I have to play well. Haven't played a game in the NFL. Haven't made a tackle in the NFL. And I remember when I went out there, my father came down for the game. I remember he came down there to support, and it was the first game I was nervous for. I know what nervous mean. Because I didn't know what to expect. In the other games, obviously, I think you get anxious. Anxious meaning you can't wait for it to get started and get that first play in.
Right. Nervous. You're scared.
Nervous is like, man, I don't know what to expect.
Right.
But the coach did a good thing for me. When right before the game start, Coach Bates, he said, Marlon, we're gonna blitz you on the first game, the first play.
It's ripping off a Band-Aid.
It's like ripping off. It's like just go and hit somebody. And I did the blitz. I made the tackle in the first play, and I was like, all right, I'm good.
Wow. I wonder who was it. Like a Corey Dillon? I'm trying to think who.
Antoine Smith.
Antoine. See, you remember everything. Wow.
Yeah, I remember Antoine Smith, and then from there I made like 8 tackles during the game. We won the game, and that's what started my career there.
Man, you have a good thing against Tom Brady. You're good against you're good against him. It's it's such a special thing to hear these stories. And your dad, your dad in that moment to come down to see you beat the Patriots, what did he say to you after the game?
My father was always, he would always motivate and always tell you all the good things and be there to support. But it's kind of like when you win, it's kind of like he was expecting that. He don't really come out and say it, but he's not like, oh yeah, and that's what a good mentor does. It's kind of like with
they anticipate your success.
Anticipate your success, like Customata and Mike Tyson. When Mike Tyson first started knocking out, when he first had his first match and jump up on the rope, they talk about act like you've been there before, and
right.
You should expect to do this. This is what you're supposed to do. The winning. This is so. Don't celebrate and get excited. Some people want to celebrate, and and it's not wrong, it's not bad to do that, but celebrate celebrate with confidence. Don't celebrate, don't over celebrate like you didn't expect you were gonna get there.
It's important. A lot of interesting things. Let's take a brief break from football and the Texans, because speaking of Mike Tyson, I mean, some people are double threats, triple threats. Your career, I mean, the things that you have done. Speaking of boxing, you've boxed.
Yes.
You have a 3-0 record with 3 TKOs. Singer, actor. I mean, so many different things. I mean, obviously we spoke about the wrestling and the football stuff, but let's focus on the music, the acting, and the boxing. So the boxing stuff.
Yeah.
That, for you to box professionally, be 3-0, how was that for you?
So, that happened when I was playing in the UFL. After starting 8 years in the NFL, was a free agent during the 2009. That's when I focused on my music. And while I was doing the music, then I was able to do all the things there. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But in 2010, I was playing the UFL, and we didn't have any preseason games. We only had 8 regular season games. So it was kind of like back in high school again. In the NFL at the time, it was 16 games, 16-game season, and we had 4 preseason games. Now they're 17 and 3. But I said, what am I going to do in the off season? It came to me that I was like, hey, let me try out boxing just to get in shape.
Yeah.
So I utilized the same philosophy. Do your best at any contest, and God will do the rest. And it's not where you start, it's where you finish. Because when I tell you, when I first went in there, I couldn't even hit the speed bag, didn't even know how to throw a jab, and that took a lot of learning and discipline. And I just used to go there every day and do it. Then next thing you know, before you know it, I was sparring with the pro fighters.
What's scarier, getting punched like in boxing and really head to head, or football and contact and taking down a running back or a lineman, blocking you?
It's definitely the boxing.
Really?
Yeah, because here you have someone gunning for your head every
play.
Every play. So it's like you got to make sure your focus has to be there, and one little mistake when you want to relax and stuff, that's when
you can be knocked out.
You could be knocked out. And not only that, on top of that, the embarrassment, you also have that. So you have to also build up the courage to be able to just go out there, and that comes over time with the sports. Like in high school, I was always good at one-on-one.
Right, wrestling.
One-on-one competition. Because even though I won the state championship my senior year in scholastics, also won the Empire State Games.
I saw that
3 times, and I also won the freestyle states in my going into my junior year.
Right.
Because I was so determined to win the scholastic states, because I was going to be my senior year. My coach never had a state champion at Freeport High School. Terry Hayes, his son was a state champion, his first state champion, but he went to a different school.
Oh.
But at Freeport High School, I think Jay Heron, James Hieronymus was his name in high school. I would call him Hippo. He was a MMA fighter out here by the name of Jay Heron. He's doing some acting too. He came out in The Equalizer with Denzel Washington, where he was the one in the back seat where
All right, I got to go back and watch it. Listen, I love all those movies. But then you were, let's talk about acting with you. You were in a movie with Snoop Dogg. You've been, your IMDb page is pretty hefty. You've had a lot of roles. What about that?
Well, some of them was more for the acting class. Sometimes they do like some demo reels there. They try to get you like some reels. But the first one that was the one blood pageant with Snoop Dogg.
Stephen Baldwin's in it.
Stephen Baldwin, yeah. So that was good to go out, and it was a good cast. But that goes up to like where it's not where you start, where you finish. It doesn't matter about your small roles in the beginning.
Do you take on the same mentality as you were prepping to be, a right outside or right inside linebacker? Are you taking that same mentality when you go into a scene to act?
Yeah. You first of all, you take that same mentality. Do your best at any contest, God will do the rest. Right? If you remember
That's
that,
the take-home message from the podcast. We
do your
definitely
best at any contest, and God will do the rest. And so when you're there, you learn the scene. Sometimes you have to go through it and go through it over and over and over again, and then you gotta make it natural.
Right.
And so that comes with over time of practicing. But it also goes back to the thing that I always think about it. Without my mom, she named me after Marlon Brando, who's
the best actor ever, maybe.
And a lot of times my goal was always to go to L.A. But in 2017 I decided to stay here and focus on the foundation, and hopefully one day I'll be able to pick back up doing those things, because being able to do a little bit more roles and auditions and stuff like that. But for now, I'm focusing on that. But it's definitely the same, the same preparation as far as mentality wise.
Right.
Not And when you go up there and you go reading with someone, it's like you're kind of like everyone's watching you, right?
Right. The pressure's on.
The pressure's on, and the big screen and the camera's up there, blah blah blah. Gotta remember my line, and and all of those things, and you gotta also be able to improv, just like in the football game when if you have the B gap and it's not there, you gotta wiggle around and make a play, right? It's like all the different philosophies come along in everything. Even doing music, sometimes you're up there performing. Guess what? Sometimes the DJ don't play the right thing.
I think I forgot the word. What were we singing Bob Marley wise? Like jamming? I think we were singing jamming together. And
yeah.
I had the improv a little bit there.
Is it Buffalo Soldier? Was it Buffalo Soldier?
No, I think
they were jamming.
Jamming. I want to jamming with you. I think we were.
Jamming.
Maybe it was. Or maybe it was.
Yeah.
Is this love? Maybe.
Could it be love? Could
it? It was something. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
Is he? Let's do a little rapid fire questions because I'm curious. So, all right. First of all, Jamaica.
Yeah.
You had a musical career as Ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bob Marley your favorite musician of all time? How much has he influenced you?
So the music started for me in 9th grade. That's when I started writing songs. So I was in America already. The Bob Marley started because my father's a Rastafarian, and that's all he listened to was Bob Marley. So we listened to a lot of Bob Marley music. But you also have different artists that we grew up with, called Sean Paul. You have Bounty Killer. You also
hey, listen, all that Jamaican rap guys were good. But there's a lot of legend, like the Heptones, right? Weren't they a big Jamaican group? They had they did a lot of covers, like "You Decorated My Life" or Alton Ellis.
I can't think of that off the top of my head, but yeah, there was a lot of different type of artists. I was just thinking about the ones that I grew up with, yeah.
And because I love Bob Marley so much, his impact in Jamaica, is it like
very impactful?
Is there anybody more important ever in Jamaica's, like from a cultural standpoint, than him? Was he just growing up? You're 5 years old. Was he just?
I think you have Bob Marley. You have Marcus Garvey. Where a lot of people know him as far as having impact. Definitely, you have Usain Bolt as well.
Right.
When you talk about the name, but I think Bob Marley. One of the reasons why he is always so remembered is his music was so positive and uplifting, and in not just his music was like that, but he was also like that. He always wanted to help people to even there was I don't remember, so don't quote me word for word, but there was a time when he got shot when someone came up and tried to kill him.
Yeah.
He found out who it was, and he didn't do anything to the guy because he knows that he was just a product of it. Yeah, it was about love. So it's like that's the type of guy that he was, so someone like that you always wanna be able to emulate, and as far as his teachings and as far as what he wants for the world.
Yeah, it's
You know,
a beautiful thing.
beautiful, and the music spread like wildfire.
It's a beautiful. He was a genius. I mean, his music is just remarkable to me. I love listening to it. All right, let's do a couple of rapid fire things. Who was the hardest player you ever had to tackle in the NFL?
2 players, Ricky Williams, Jace, and Adrian Peterson.
And Ricky, was that against him or was that in practice?
That was it was against him when I was in Houston and it was in
Okay.
Miami when he
played.
and it was a third and I'll be real quick. It was a 3rd and 1 play, and Ricky looked at me before he got the ball.
Yeah.
And I said, there's no way he's going to get the ball. And they tossed him the ball, and I was like, wow, you got the ball. So I knew how fast he was. So I had to run like as hard as I can to the sideline, and I hit him so hard my helmet went flying and everything. I ended up stopping him, though.
Oh, great.
I ended up stopping him, which was a very big play, but it was...
He was hard to tackle.
It was really hard. I mean...
Just speed and what?
Speed, power, explosiveness, and also his size. You know, it wasn't like a small running back either.
Right.
You know, because it was stocky.
But Peterson was bigger than him, right? Or no?
I think probably frame-wise, Peterson was like a little bit, you know, but the thing with Peterson, when I tackled him a couple of times, he doesn't, you know, some guys, it take them time to get moving once they pass the line of scrimmage. It seemed like he was moving full speed as soon as he got the ball.
Really? Yeah, because they almost hit
him,
second gear.
Yeah,
Some guys shift and then boom.
It seemed like he was just going fast, and when I hit him, it felt like a solid hit. Like you really have to wrap up this guy.
Oh, wow.
And so those are the 2 guys I could remember. Jerome Bettis, I tackled him, but it was behind the line of scrimmage, so
okay.
he wasn't before he got going.
Gotcha.
In the open
He
field.
took him a little bit while to
Yeah.
go. He was a bigger guy. If you could act with anybody in a movie, who would it be, dead or alive? Would it be Marlon Brando?
You know, the one I've been watching, it would be Denzel Washington. You know, I really like Denzel Washington. I haven't watched much, believe it or not, I haven't seen much of Marlon Brando's movies.
Oh.
I've seen The Godfathers.
On the waterfront, you gotta watch.
On the waterfront.
That's a big. And you know.
Maybe that's going to be like a homework to do.
You
know,
gotta watch.
his
It's
movie,
very
yeah.
good. Kazan, very famous director. But all right, and what about sharing the stage, performing wise, singing?
Performing, I would love to share the stage with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was your guy growing up. Your favorite person.
Yeah. As far as
musically.
I mean, musically, and everyone, you know, knew Michael Jackson, the dance moves and all that, and you know, just to do like some type of performance with him. I mean, have you seen his performance? Sometimes he just jumps up there on stage and just stands there and don't do nothing, and everybody's just going crazy. You know, he demands that. That's a great performer.
Yeah, it really is true. He was remarkable, one of the best entertainers of all time. Well, listen, we learned so much about you. If we want to learn more about the MG52 Foundation, all the great work you do, where can we go for more on that?
You could go to mg52.org. That's MG like Morlon Greenwood. 52 was my number in high school, college. In Miami. The only time it switched to 56 was when I was with the Texans. They
didn't give that to you?
You know, Kylie Wong had it.
Oh.
And I was going
to
give him $50,000 for it, and he thought about it. But,
you were going to give him $50,000 for it?
Yeah. But I was just going to have them take it out of my contract, so I didn't really even have to think about it.
And
because
he said no.
The number meant that much to me, and because my coach gave me that number in high school, and what I came to find out later was my father was born in 1952. You know, you should know these things, right?
You just put two and two together.
You should know these things. I remember I was talking to my father, and I was telling him, you know, I got the number Coach Selling gave me 52. I was going to pick 77, and he said, no, pick 52 because you're going to be a linebacker one day, you know. And my father was like, oh, I thought you picked the number because I was born in 1952. I was like, oh.
Exactly, Dad.
I should know that.
That's why I did that. Exactly.
So it's mg52.org.
All right.
And they could get more information on that. We have the free football camp coming up February 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We do those twice a year.
Yeah.
And we're currently working on putting a 400,000 square foot facility down at Nevada State College.
Right.
It's going to be a year-round program. I was going to have a middle school there with all the wraparound services, 3 hours of education, 3 hours of athletics. with the mental health, behavioral health, tutoring
Wow.
classes, trade school, entrepreneurship classes, leadership classes, financial literacy, all these different things to help the kids do what? Reach their full potential quicker, right?
See, you're doing so much. I can really speak to it. I've seen it firsthand. You're doing wonderful things for so many young kids in our community, and it's the Las Vegas community is lucky to have you. I think, listen, the take-home message from this podcast, we have to say what your father Owen said. Let's say it together.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Ready? To do your best.
Do your best
at any contest, and God will do the rest.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we all have to remember. Last thing I actually want to ask you, I wrote a note about this just before we go. Playing linebacker with D'Amico Ryans,
Yes.
with the Houston Texans, defensive coordinator now with the 49ers.
Yes.
Did you see that ability in him to really be a leader as a coach one day? Did he show that kind of promise as a player? Could you see him becoming he's going to become a head coach inevitably one day, and he's doing such a good job with the Niners.
Absolutely. When he came in as a rookie.
Yeah.
And remember I told you about the year when they brought in those different linebackers. Well, I didn't tell you when I said that my job in the NFL was to no one's going to beat me up. I'm going to be the starter. And I'm going to help my family. And So one year they brought in like 6 linebackers. They drafted D'Amico to take my position over in Houston.
Oh, God.
And they brought in Barrett Green. They brought in Rashad Salam. They had Sam Cowart was over there. I don't know if you guys know these guys. And there was a couple of guys that got drafted in the later rounds. But we were the 2 best linebackers. So they kept me in my position and moved D'Amico to middle linebacker.
Wow.
And then I think Danny Clark, he was a Sam linebacker. But throughout the time, I saw him as a rookie. Even when we were changing positions and he was there and he was like, Marlin, how do you play this? I used to tell him. I used to be like, well, this means this, and he would pick it up right away.
See how that's full circle. It's, Junior Seau helped you when you started with the Dolphins, and then you helped D'Amico.
He shared with me at the end of the year because he made Rookie of the Year that year.
Yeah.
And he shared with me with like, thank you for you taking me under your wing and just helping me, embracing me, opposed to looking at him like a threat. And you see things worked out where he ended up being the middle linebacker and I being the will linebacker, and we had a great relationship playing over there. But he always wanted to be a coach. He always wanted to be a coach. And there were some times when he would go up there and coach like the defense and go over the different plays and the defensive linemen who should be rushing a little bit tighter or crashing down.
Wow.
So he always had that, like when you ask him, what do you want to do after football? I want to be a coach. So everyone knew that, so it's no surprise that he's doing what he's doing now and doing it as well as he do it because he has a passion for it.
See, what a beautiful thing. I love to hear it. One last time, do your best at any contest, and God will do the rest. The great Morlon Greenwood. You don't say Morlin, you say Marlin, and that doctor, he screwed up on that paperwork.
No, everything was supposed to happen.
See,
like I mentioned, I wouldn't have been able to get my name trademarked.
We got the trademark name, and we're also going to talk one day just about how God spoke to you or the Holy Spirit.
No, absolutely.
I mean, I think there's a chance you might be driving home after this to Nevada State College. You do have that meeting. I think you're going to get another Holy Spirit voice talking to you.
Sometimes I think about that, and sometimes I wonder is when you're born into this earth, you're still kind of connected to the spiritual.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you get more connected to the physical and older. But but like I said, you only need to hear it once. And if you do hear it, and you could Google, a lot of people have heard, and if it's the voice of God, if it's the Holy Spirit that's inside of you, that's directing you, because each of us have the Holy Spirit inside of us, leading and directing us. That's why sometimes when you go to a place and be like, no, I probably shouldn't be here, and it's that telling you and directing you, but sometimes we don't listen to it.
There you go. Make sure you listen to it, ladies and gentlemen. You only need to hear it once. The great Morlon Greenwood, thanks for being with us. Guys, this is what the Vegas Huddle is all about. Talking, great conversation with some amazing people in our community here in Las Vegas. Make sure you listen to this wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure you watch on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. Until next time, from the Vegas Huddle, I'm your host, Mike Davis.